Hello, everybody. We are live. Good to have everybody here. Today, we're going to be having our almost monthly session with FivexL consultants where we discuss a couple of things. We are dividing this session in three sections: the news, announcements, and questions. So the news are going to be sharing stuff with you that AWS announced, things about the market, AWS announcements, and then questions we get from developers. Today, I have two colleagues with me, Andrey and Vlad. So both of them are from FivexL. We work together with customers across the globe. FivexL is the first remote company, and then we have customers across the entire globe, I believe. We are in different locations. So if you want to know more about FivexL, please go to our website, read the story, and you can know a bit more about us. So without any further ado, let's get started. Maybe we can start with the news from the market. Who wants to start? Maybe Mr. Andrey or Volvo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, so hello everyone. As you mentioned, we are remote host joining from the different locations around the globe. And as a warm-up, let's see where we are today. I am in my usual location in Las Palmas. Like if you watch the previous streams, you recognize this one.
We see the sun breaking through the window. Makes us jealous, right? Yeah.
But you should have enough sun, don't you, Guilherme?
I do
Where are
have
you?
now, but I live in the Netherlands, right? So I usually complain about the weather.
But you don't have that yellow thing in your
Nah,
typical
nah,
location.
nah.
So
Today
tell us the truth.
Today I'm in Portugal, a beachfront apartment, so I can't complain. But I'll be traveling back to the super sunny Netherlands on Saturday.
What about you, Vlad? That looks like your typical location.
Yeah. Today, not the same as our previous episode. Today, I'm back to my normal location. It's in Thailand, Pattaya, Pratam Nak Hill. So it's also have a kind of beachfront stuff. I have a sea view behind me, but it's kind of typical here. So nothing special.
Right.
Yeah,
but generally
and we
play, right? So
yeah, we also complain about the weather, but we complain about the hot. So thanks for global warming. You make us more and more heat each year.
There's always a reason to complain, right? If it's too warm or too cold
Yeah.
or too rainy.
Yeah. But it's May, right? So generally spring. So I guess wherever you are in the world, you should be feeling either warm up or a little bit of cool down if you're in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah.
So probably it's getting nicer, whatever side you look at. And
I believe so.
I've been to Copenhagen this week, presenting at the AWS Community Nordics event, which was great. And I got very lucky, so I didn't need extra clothing that I took with me. So I was able to travel in a pants, like the G-short and a little bit of hoodie in the evening. But all in all, was quite cool. All right. Who wants to go first with the news?
Just a quick question, because you mentioned about events, right? I know you're going to be presenting some events in the future. Could you please share with us? Maybe our audience will be there as well, so we can meet you in person. So what's your agenda?
Yeah, so I actually did two presentations. One was an AWS Summit in Amsterdam in the beginning of April. Now it was AWS Community Nordics in Copenhagen. I was scheduled, I hoped, both me and Vlad, we sent CFPs for the AWS Summit in Stockholm. But we're not good enough. So, but we still be there.
It's fine, yeah, and maybe there's more speakers that's supposed to talk there, and we will have more time, so you'll be more free in the AWS in Stockholm.
You'll be there in the event, right? As a guest, right? So you can meet people there, right?
Yeah, exactly. So just hit us on the LinkedIn. We will be there. Elsa, if you're doing the Stockholm Marathon Saturday before the summit, we'll be there as well. So we could run together if you want. Then I think Vlad, the same week, so that the summit is June 4th, the same week, Vlad will be in Oslo and we might make a meetup there. Also, there is a discussion about the meetup in Stockholm collocated with AWS Summit. So we might present there, we might not. It's all fluid. We will be definitely presenting second week of June. We will be here in Las Palmas. There will be FivexL gathering. We will be doing the meetup. Some of us will be presenting. Guilherme, you would be good to start buying tickets.
Yes.
So,
Very
what
important
else?
event.
We have our colleagues, Alexei and Anton. I think Alexei is speaking at the AWS Community Day Central Asia in Tashkent, of all places, in the middle of May. And we have the open CFP for both of those individuals for AWS Community Day Mongolia. Because why not? I mean, like, they're not that far away from there right now in Kazakhstan. And if I would get a chance, I would go.
Yeah, definitely.
Mongolia is not a place where you go often.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention the events because at FivexL we think it's very important to share knowledge and to go to the market and be a speaker, because then you can make new friends, right? You can share our knowledge, and then you can expand our networking, which is really important.
Exactly.
So that's why I wanted you to share the upcoming events we're gonna be.
Yeah, we
presenting.
have.
No,
I have to share one, because I will talk in Bangkok, the AWS Summit Developer Lounge, 31st of May, if I'm right, and it will be some big event because it's a 10 years anniversary kind of it here, because AWS do it multiple times, and it's could be huge because this time AWS sent me a special slides templates. I can't share them yet, but they're a bit different from usually, so they're beautiful. And I will prepare a topic about how to set up a Bedrock inside multi-account strategy environments with a control tower thinking, how to do it right. So
cool. Super cool.
Yeah, congrats, Vlad. I mean, speaking at AWS Summit is no joke. It's a serious opportunity. Again, you don't get those opportunities very often. So congratulations.
Yeah, indeed. Last year I was a speaker in Amsterdam, but I was an AWS employee. But I think it was a unique opportunity because, again, sharing knowledge and being in touch with people is always a great manner of expanding your network. Okay, maybe we can jump to the news. The first one I just mentioned with Andrey, like in an offline fashion, that I just wanted to say about the Terraform acquisition by IBM. I see a lot of things happening in the market, a lot of people talking about that. People afraid of, okay, losing control of the source code, or maybe IBM will come and change everything. Then we have to migrate to OpenTofu or any other infrastructure as code. So maybe 1 or 2 minutes. I'm really curious to know about your opinion, guys. What is your take on the Terraform IBM acquisition? Maybe Vlad, if we chose.
Yeah, we can say, but we are experimenting with OpenTofu at the moment. So we try to run OpenTofu inside our existing environment and just see what's happened. So this is a point. And also my existing customer is not using the latest feature of Terraform. So we are stuck in a 1.6 version. It means it's now a good time to choose a migrate or not, because for now, if I understand correct, the Terraform version 1.6 and OpenTofu 1.6, they're kind of similar. So it's a nice moment to migrate, because in the future, it could be more and more difficult because they are become different.
So for now, would you recommend people to stay with Terraform or to migrate to OpenTofu?
I could recommend to try OpenTofu and see what's happened, because each case could be different.
Okay, makes sense. Andrey, what's your take?
Yeah, I would say it's the same. Start at least looking in that direction, assessing your situation so you know where you are, how hard that would be. And generally, I'm happy for the founders of HashiCorp. I mean, that's something good for them that happened. Like first when they went public, but now when the whole company is being taken over by another entity, they will have, I think, I don't know, I never been in the merger like that, so I'm speculating that they will have a little bit easier time. So, I mean, what's changing now, the buck is not stopping with them. It's stopping somewhere there in IBM. So they're not, the ultimate decision maker. So the responsibility is not as much on them. And there is a possibility for them to cash out, step out of the business and try to do something else. And I mean, Mitchell already did, Mitchell Hashimoto. And he did it even before acquisition. So I'm happy for the guys. I think that's great. Another thing to consider is that mergers and acquisitions are not done deals. It's a complex undertaking, which can go south at any moment. So, yes, there are intentions, they want to do that, but before that happens, some time will pass and we will see if the merger will be successful. And then depending on that, I think the product strategy will evolve based how it went. So I don't expect any drastic changes for the year, like maybe half a year. And I think that it's beneficial for HashiCorp because they will be able to lean on IBM sales machine. I mean, the IBM has terrific sales, so they will be able to sell more of their product to the kind of customers HashiCorp usually sells to, so like Vault, stuff like Vault, and also understand that Terraform wasn't the cash cow. I mean, it was Vault. The Vault license cost a fortune, and Terraform was a sidekick, if you like. That was a good company there, but I don't think they did a lot of money on it. So I wouldn't be worried as much for the Terraform. And with OpenTofu, it's very interesting because it's evolving quickly. The longevity of the project is unclear. It's backed by a handful of companies who are VC backed. So, and they're burning VC money, and they might be baked at some point. That's what I'm saying. So, and then will there be momentum behind OpenTofu? Yeah, there is a Linux Foundation stepping in as well. So, like, I don't think it will be that dry. So, Linux Foundation might be able to pedal it further. Yeah, we will see. So that's another thing to see. And finally, the final thing I want to mention is that there are a lot of very interesting developments in OpenTofu. So you're getting, for instance, they just released a client-side state encryption with KMS. Terrific. I mean, HashiCorp was like pushing that feature away for a long time, saying you want to have it by Terraform Cloud or Terraform HCP, whatever it's called. And there is a pull request that I discovered while preparing for my presentation at AWS Community Day Nordics, where they now considering making backend configuration dynamic, so you could use variables in a backend configuration, which is huge. It was like missing quite a lot, and like the Terragrant automates that for you, but it was missing in a Terraform. There was a lot of discussions around it. So with those developments, you can see that they will start diverge. Not right now, but you will get more and more features available in OpenTofu and potentially not available in Terraform, and maybe features available in Terraform not available on OpenTofu. So if you are on a collision course with a HashiCorp BSL license, better act soon.
Yeah, great. And of course, if you need help, please contact us. We have consultants super knowledgeable in Terraform. We can, of course, give you some hints, not only the ones that Andrey just shared, but also a more in-depth analysis of your source code, and we can help you. Great. So who is
configure that together?
Together, of course, yes. Who is controlling the car today? I don't know. I think it's Andrey, right? Yes. Bedrock Access Gateway. Bring it on.
Yeah, I can talk about that. It's like it's a way how to kind of replace OpenAI API with Bedrock API, because many companies, they could start with the OpenAI. For example, I start my own small projects with OpenAI because it was just easier. But when you go closer to production, when data become more important to be private, so it's a way to migrate. But how to do it? So AWS announced a Bedrock Access Gateway, a way how to easily replace OpenAI API without changing over another part of your code, and start using Bedrock now. And together with another new, where it's about this one, custom model import for Amazon Bedrock. It's create a very unique way how to shift left your development process, because with the OpenAI you have to pay for all development and testing for all developers' iterations. You can multiplex it by amount of your developers, how many API calls you need to send to OpenAI, to any another solution which require to pay for all API calls. But with the custom models import for a Bedrock, it's a way how to run models locally. The custom models or open source models, you can run them locally on a developer's machine, because everyone have very powerful MacBooks with tons of memory. So even I can predict that generation of MacBooks will give us a tons of memory, maybe even a terabytes inside MacBook. So if you run it locally, when you can iterate as much as you want without paying for everyone, and then just release things to production. And this is kind of remind me a way how we deal with containers, because we run them locally with Docker Compose, with any kind of Kubernetes simulation on the machine, on the developer machine, and then we deploy them to AWS, to the clouds, right? So this is kind of similar approach. So, and I like the way that Bedrock now allow custom model imports.
Great. I'm always wondering, because we talk to a lot of customers, right? And when they see like Amazon Bedrock and all this stuff, they usually ask me like, what is the an example, right? Where can I use this kind of services? Do you have an example to share with us, like a more practical business use case with Bedrock?
We can share like it's very like it's not with a Bedrock, with the language models in general. For example, it's possible to connect the entire database to a large language model, and then send a natural language query to that model, and that model will use the data from the database. Like you can ask how many tables you have, what is inside the tables, and so on. You can interact with the data, with a SQL data in a different way, like using a full text search against a SQL database. Basically, you can do that. So it's kind of interesting. And one more example is how to use acknowledge-based RAGs inside together with LLMs. It's also useful and practical. So you can put all your documentation of your company, all your notions, or I don't know, whatever you use to a language model, and then ask questions like this: how we deal with the Go dependencies? Just natural question. So you can easily onboard people in your company. Just let them talk with a language model that use a company sources database. So
great. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Like a knowledge base, and then you train your models based on your knowledge base. Yes, that's great. That's great. Cool.
Piece of news we have.
Go.
I think we jumped ahead to announcements, but a small piece of news here. That's a blog post I wanted to share with you that I discovered in one of the Slack channels. I think it was the community builders. And actually this morning, both Vlad and me were confirmed for another year in community builders. Another reason to celebrate.
Yes.
Yeah, so very interesting idea here. The guys built, and now it's open source, serverless certificate authority that you can deploy on AWS, and understand that AWS offers a managed service called Private CA, which will let you to issue certificates in a similar manner, but it would cost you $400 a month for the instance. And if you want to have a multiple of them shared between environments, you see where it goes. You can get a cheaper version, I think it's for $50 or something like that. But then you only limited with 1 week long.
Yes, that's correct.
So
yeah.
So, and stuff like ECS Connect can only work with private CA. So keep that in mind. So in some cases you would need to have it, but in other cases where you don't need such tight integration, you could actually use this and save some money. I think for the smaller customers, that could be an interesting solution, because it's still,
for a pet projects, home projects, pet projects, it's another option.
Yes. So if your pet project requires private CA authority,
yeah, why not? You're a security focused guy, so you would like to do it. This is the way.
But anyhow, I want people to have this on their radar. I think that solution will keep growing and developing. And yep, we will have all the links in the description after the video is released and processed.
Awesome. Okay, we discussed news, a little bit of announcements, I think, right? Or all the announcements translated into plain engineering English. But if you have any other questions or things you want to see us discussing here, please let us know. We are open to receive your suggestions. And then
there is a chat. We can see that, so we can see questions live actually.
Yes, Andrey is driving the car, so he can share the questions with us. But maybe we can move to the next topic, right? As I said, we have another one. Amazon Bedrock Studio.
Yeah, it was quite new, and I already tested. So maybe a couple of hours ago, I tried to bootstrap Bedrock Studio. In the end, after the whole bootstrapping process, it looked nice. So it's a good developer experience. It's remind me some another product actually, but it's good that AWS is going that direction. But important moment here, it's about SSO enabled web interface, SSO integration with Amazon Identity Center. IAM Identity Center was very nice. It just happened without any configuration or settings or connecting things together. If you create Amazon Bedrock Studio inside any of child accounts of any of member accounts of organization, and you already have Amazon Identity Center inside your environment, it will just happen. You just type a username which you want to grant access or permission, and that user have access to a Bedrock Studio. This was very nice. But what we should keep in mind here, that Amazon Bedrock Studio is actually using that one, Amazon DataZone service, the underlying. So when you create Amazon Bedrock Studio first, when you add the first user and that user first time login inside Bedrock Studio, it will actually create Amazon DataZone underlying. So if you would like to know, like, it's about the cost of a Bedrock Studio or how it works or what limitations, you probably have to go inside Amazon DataZone documentation and read about it a bit more. So this was quite interesting inside the Bedrock Studio.
Great.
I have one more. Hold on. One more. Before you
just one thing. Just one thing before we change the subject, because I was just paying attention to Vlad. Then one thing that crossed my mind is like AWS has a lot of services, of course, right? Maybe more than 200. And one thing that is I saw some articles and people discussing this. The difference between Bedrock and SageMaker, because SageMaker has been there for a while, right? And you have Jumpstart to have like the Canvas Studio, have everything. And then AWS launched Bedrock, I think last year, if not mistaken. They are like creating a lot of services or new features on top of Bedrock. And now people might be like asking, okay, what to use? Which one should I use? Is it SageMaker the best option for my use case, or Bedrock? Just some food for thoughts. I don't know if Vlad, you have a take. You don't need to answer now, but maybe you can discuss this.
Yeah, we can discuss it a bit, but Bedrock, why it's called Bedrock, it's something related to foundation. So it means saying Bedrock is mostly the terms of a foundation models and operating with them. So if you need to do something with a foundation model, with existing foundation model, or you want to create a different type of multi-model foundation models, you have to go that way. But if you work with a different type of AI, it's probably you would like to create your own thing. It's a SageMaker way. So maybe kind of that. And I think the Bedrock, it says a name of Bedrock is very important. So it's maybe a good naming this time from AWS.
Yeah, indeed. I found just one thing that says, I can share the link later, but if you need quickly integrated advanced AI capabilities without much customization, Bedrock is the way to go. But if your use case demands deep custom stuff and are willing to invest more because it costs more, SageMaker will be a better fit. I think maybe you can evolve and show more things, right? But two options for you. Andrey.
Going back to the more simple, mundane things.
Yes.
So with AWS Identity Center, also known as SSO, there is a little bit of common issues that in order to access an account, you need to go to the portal, click through, maybe like if you have many accounts, you would have to narrow your search, like there is a search bar where you can type a pattern. So you can see only the accounts that match the patterns and click on that one more, and then you open that in a browser, which might be cumbersome, especially if you're jumping between accounts very often, as like I do. And that's why this announcement that they did is very welcome, because now you could actually create URLs that will take you directly to the needed accounts, and this is how you do it. So you will need to add additional parameters, like for instance, account ID, the permission set that you have access to, important part, and then destination URL, which means that there are some examples. You could, for instance, show home, or you can show S3 or something like that. When people share links with you to for instance, CloudWatch logs insights query, that's in their account, but you have no way of knowing where it is. So if you want to send a link to someone that would actually point to a particular account with particular permission set that's needed to see that resource, now you could do that by constructing the URL. It's not very handy. I mean, you have to like put a lot of things in there, but I think with a little bit of bash, you could make yourself an alias that will generate those things for you, or maybe there is support in AWS CLI. I haven't checked. I wouldn't be surprised if there would be a support for that in AWS CLI, but it's generally very helpful. And another use case I want to give you, I've been talking about the CloudWatch logs, and the reason I'm mentioning CloudWatch logs is we have Lambda that's sending ECS events to Slack. So for instance, you have a container crashing, and if you have, for that particular ECS service, if you use CloudWatch logs integration to store logs and not OpenSearch or anything else, then now you will be able to construct a link and point to the CloudWatch log group in a particular account and particular permission needed to access it. So that makes that possible. Before that, we could include a link to a Slack message, but that will just point you to AWS console and CloudWatch, and it will open in your existing account that is already opened. And you will not have that CloudWatch log group. So that will be a bad user experience. So we didn't do that, but actually with this announcement, we can do it now. So that's why it's very cool, I think. Hey, I think that was the last one.
Great. Now, developers question. Just one thing, we collect this from our customers or people that we talk, or maybe Andrey and Vlad, they are in events, they get questions, and then we use this kind of questions here just to use as the foundation of our explanation. So today's questions is from a developer, why to use multiple AWS accounts? Can't we just put everything into one account? That's a very common question.
Why not?
It seems to be a simple question, right? Maybe, yeah, just use multiple, go for it, be happy, and see you later. But this is not the point, right? Maybe why not? Can't we just put everything into one? Why can't I use just one AWS account? Maybe I can change the region. I use development in a region, production in another
just on your region. Yeah, that's
Yes.
on our region. Yeah,
What-
easy. Yeah.
Isn't it easy, right? Why can't we just do this? Tell me, guys. Not everyone at the same time.
Okay, yeah. Why not we start with you? What
Because
would
it's
be
just-
the first thing.
It's just wrong. No, I'm just kidding. It's just There are multiple ways of approaching this topic, right? Which is a very common question, and there are multiple ways of looking into the same problem. So I will approach one of them. One is the separation of concerns, right? If you are a developer or if you're from the infrastructure world, you might have heard before about DTAP, right? DTAP, which is basically separating your environment into different places, right? So you have development account where you can test stuff, you can try out new things, and then you have tests where probably your end users will be testing your application, acceptance, which also is pre-production, so we're testing stuff, and then production, of course, where everything's happening, where your business is making profit, where you have to secure everything, right? So how do you make sure that, for example, something that developers are trying to implement will not affect test and production? Of course, you reduce the blast radius, as we say, right? So you must isolate stuff, and the recommended way of isolating stuff in AWS is separating them into accounts. You should never use the same account to mix multiple environments. And unfortunately, I've seen this many times as a AWS employee and also as an independent consultant. So if you have multiple accounts, remember accounts are free on AWS. You just pay for the stuff that you deploy. So you can have like 20 accounts. You don't pay for them. You just pay for things that you deploy. So start creating different accounts, and then you can isolate. The development account will be a sort of a box. It's like a box where you can deploy stuff, and then you deploy to test, and then deploy to account, to acceptance, and then production. So separation of concerns is one thing that you should keep in mind. You can sleep in peace because you deploy something to development and it's not affecting production. As a developer, I think this is really good because you are isolated. You can play in the playground without breaking any toys. So this is one of the aspects. But once you create multiple accounts, you must have some tools, extra tools to manage your accounts. So this is one of my takes. Vlad, what is yours?
Yeah, I can start with some analogy here. Like, for example, what is the fastest way for jumping out of a plane? It's just jump, yes? But after, you probably will have some issues on a day two, right? Because where is the stuff? So it's the same thing with one AWS account. You just jump on a plane, and when you think about another things to do, like where's my parachute? So, and here is a multi-account strategy. We ask you to prepare your parachute and pack it. Yes, it's required time. It requires experience to prepare yourself. But when you jump over a plane, you have a parachute and you able to separate your environments and protect you. Why I use this analogy? Because it's very hard to separate environments after the day zero. Because after it's already ongoing, it's extremely difficult, because who is having access to what, how I move databases, how I do it without downtimes. It's extremely hard to do it. So we can recommend you to start at least separate environments for accounts. So just make your life easier in the future. And also in the AWS, everything is united inside one organization. So you still have a control over all accounts. It's and different clouds, they have a different ways how to explain that thingy. But here in the AWS, don't need to be scared about another account. It's not something completely separate. You have AWS organization. Don't need to worry if you create 20 accounts, 40 accounts, 50 accounts, 100 accounts. It's okay. So it's fine to go with it. You're just switching a context, and that's it. So this
Great.
is from my side.
So we have AWS organizations that can control all accounts, and then you can apply what we call SCPs, right? You can control what services will be deployed. You have like a lot of controls, and of course, we can help you. If you want to deploy multiple accounts, we can help you. Andrey, what is your main thing about it?
Yeah, I probably would go along the same lines, so reducing the blast radius. So if you're a business, you would, and you have all your data in one AWS account. If that the AWS account is gone, so all your business, all your customer data, all your PII, PHI, what have you. So you probably don't want that to happen. So that's why AWS organization is very helpful. From there, you can control the access to accounts. And then even if the account is taking over, there are means in AWS organization to contain the breach. So that's another thing. If you're being breached, then, for instance, if it's in development, it's less of the deal compared to if it would be in production. And then you have the breach probability or the operational incident probability. So the more foot traffic you have in an account, so you would have your developers doing something, you would have your marketing people doing something, your business analysts, your testers, who have you, like the operations people. If they all do all of that in one account, they will be pumping shoulders all the time. And the humans are humans, they make mistakes. So if they make a mistake in your production account, which is also your dev stage, business analytics and everything, by doing something non-production related, but they just don't have other places to do it, you see how it goes. So they're doing something that they could be doing somewhere else, but they affect your production systems. And then you also have a security aspect. So if you have your CISO or whatever, security guy, then those people would try to restrict what people could do. And because everyone going in one place, they would have to apply very restrictive policies. So for instance, developers cannot access production data on a day-by-day basis because it's supposed to be protected. So by creating multiple accounts and at least separating environments, that would be you will save a lot of time and friction for yourself later on. But then we also see the customers basically stopping to think about that and innovate when they create maybe 3 to 5 accounts to cover their environment. They think like, well, we would have our dev, maybe our stage, our production. Then we have some shared stuff like Jenkins or what have you. We put it here, and then we might have something else like the marketing people. Let's put them into separate account. And this is where the people stop to think about it. But quite often, you would run into problems. Like my favorite example, you would, for instance, you run your Kubernetes cluster in your production account. The business starts to go well, you want to do business intelligence, so you would need to deploy a Redshift. Where do you put that? well, next to a Kubernetes cluster because you don't have other places, right? So, and people very rarely stop and think, should we be placing things there? No, if they don't have the place to put it, they just put it where it sticks. The path of less resistance. This is how people operate. It's just like accepting us, our human nature. So that's why you need to have those places for people in advance to think about all those possible use cases. And this is where AWS white papers come in, because you might not have this experience from the day one. Maybe you never did it before, right? Well, luckily for you, AWS has the newspapers, and like this is one of them, which is outlining some ideas why it's a good idea. Maybe you guys can see if we checked most of them, or maybe there is something else.
Yeah, we forgot about the service quotas. I had some incident when, for example, it was in a different accounts, but we just overload one of AWS APIs. It was out of quota. We can't run it any longer because it's just rate limited. But it's affect only our dev environment. But if you use one single account, it will affect the whole thing. It's just not possible to run more ECS task, for example, or not possible to save something in CloudWatch or whatever else. So yeah, quotas is also another benefit.
Another thing that I see customers benefiting from is the cost part, the managed cost. I think there's the where you have like multiple accounts, you can get like reports based on accounts, right? You can see, for example, I gave an example of a DTAP separation, like the environments, but you can also separate them into workloads, right? You can have one account to run a single workload, and then you can get reports, right, for that workload. You might not know the numbers about your workload because they are together, running together with some other resources. Once you separate, you see the costs, the actual costs, right? That especially in the C-level helps them to come to a cost estimation about the resources, and also how to price the final product, right? How much the infrastructure is costing against how much we are charging our services, which is super good. I see a lot of people super happy to see the numbers. At the end of the month, you're going to get your bill separated into accounts, and then you can see the amount of things that you're expanding per account.
I think we covered quite a bit of it, right? So we covered costs, we covered quotas, we covered the blast radius from adverse events. Yeah. We covered constrained access to sensitive data, so you can have a separate account where you store your sensitive data. You could have a distinct security controls per environment, so that's another benefit. The group workloads, Guilherme mentioned that. So what we should be touching here is promotion of innovation and agility. What they mean here is that you can create more accounts for developers to experiment, like a sandbox accounts, and they will not affect like your development where the people collaborate. So you might have a place for them where they could play around. And support multiple IT operating models is another thing here. Is it's more applicable for a bigger company. So when you're a small company, you're probably like 1 or 2 development teams working in the same way. But if you're the bigger enterprise, the way you work might differ, and then you could have a different accounts, different environments depending on the work group. So for instance, I call the account that the environment that you have between development and production staging, but Guilherme calls it anything else but staging, right? And we could be sitting in 2 different units working in having different software development life cycle, and that will facilitate it. So we could have accounts facilitating this, no problem.
Yeah, great.
Another, yeah,
go for it. No, go for it.
I just wanted to highlight this one. And you see, this is where they actually acknowledge the same way how people progress. So they start with single AWS account. Well, there is not much to say about it. But then you can have a production starter organization. And what they say here, you could have the management, that's your organization management account. And you would put a lot of services in here. You're generally not supposed to, but it's when you're just starting out, a lot of people do, and it's fine. You could refactor it. So then you have security OU, and you have log archive prod and security tooling production. Does this, like if you're using control tower, that will be created for you for control tower. And then you have workload production test, and you can have multiple accounts and those organizational units. So those boxes with two silhouettes in them, it's organizational unit, and a silhouette with a box next to it, it's AWS account, if you are new to diagramming. And they actually explain it here on the right. So this is like something like this is how the very basic organization would look like when you just start with it. And then it
but before you involve it, we can mention that if you start with a single account, what's actually happened, it become your production account. Yes, you start with that single and you will move all things out, but with production account, it will still messy forever because no one will clean up it. So yeah, continue.
Yeah, exactly. So cleaning up stuff, like this residue of development is very hard. And you would have to live with that. So then here they have sandboxes for the people to play. You have workloads, you see prod, test, dev. And here they have the added infrastructure services. So this white paper will give you an idea of how you could evolve things. And then what they don't mention here, or maybe they do in infrastructure, yeah, so you can have a networking account, right? And this is if you start to do multiple VPCs, centralized ingress, egress, you probably will run into a need for a transit gateway, and this would be a good place to put it, right? So by thinking through of what you would need, you will save you a lot of time because changing it later is much harder. And yeah, another thing you could do here, we also recognize that developing AWS organization for the product team. So you have a product team and their duty and their business is to build the product. Developing AWS organization with all its bells and whistles is not their core business. And most probably it's something that they would do as a one-off thing, and then it will be left for maintenance. So that's why you would be well advised to go and get yourself AWS landing zone, which is already pre-designed, multi-account setup. And then you don't spend time developing it, doing the mistakes, and so on. So we happen to sell one, but there are tons of other vendors. So if you like, go shop around. But it's a money well spent, I would say.
Yes, great. I was going to say that it might sound overwhelming because you're putting a lot of AWS accounts and then you have a lot of controls. But Andrey just mentioned that you have the landing zone solution from AWS, but FivexL also offers a solution for that. Please reach us out if you want to know more about that, because we have our own approach for this multi-account strategy. AWS has this white paper, but we, with our experience, we put our secret sauce on top of it. It's not that secret, but we put our own spices on top of it from things that we learned from our customers, right? From the field, not from theoretical stuff. And the second thing I would like to say that multi-account usually leads to a discussion about SaaS, right? If you're building a SaaS on top of AWS technologies, you must also consider strategies and how, for example, how to isolate tenants, right? You have multiple ways of isolating tenants. Maybe that's another topic for us to discuss here in our next show, because if you have multiple accounts, you can also isolate tenants, but you can also isolate tenants inside of one single account. So AWS also offers white papers for it. And this is a very interesting discussion because it not only touches the infrastructure layer, but also the application layer. How you design your application in order to isolate them is another thing I'd like to bring on.
Let's save it
Cool.
for the next time.
Yeah, let's save it. I think we are running out of time, right, Andrey? How many minutes do we have left?
I don't know. We have all time in the world.
Oh, nice. Great to know. I just wanted to say that we have, like, with great power comes great responsibilities. So please, everything we say here, take it with a grain of salt, because you can start creating accounts and then you have some risks, right? You need to be aware of the risks. It's not only like as we say, a green field where everything looks fine. When you have like multiple accounts, you need to be super aware of the things that you're going to be facing. Né? So it is important to say here. I just wanted to say that.
Read the white paper that I'm trying to call a newspaper for some reason. Read the white paper, and if you decide to venture on your own, look at the control tower. So create AWS organization, create control tower. That will give you quite a bit, and then you could, at least it will give you basic controls and a better overview of what's going on in your organization.
Yeah, indeed. Yes. Final words, Vlad.
Yeah, we can say that there's a lot of things happen. It's around the Bedrock, about multi-account strategy, and we will continue to talk about it. So.
Awesome. Thanks for being here with us. Andrey, final words.
Thanks, everyone who tuned in, and everyone who is watching later. If you watch till the end, thank you. Yes. And have a good weekend to you who watched today.
Yes, thanks a lot. If you want to know more about FivexL, FivexL.io, it's our website. Reach us out on LinkedIn, as we discussed in the beginning of this talk. People, Andrey and Vlad, will be in some events, so you can meet us in person. If you want to meet us in person in some other places, or if you want to invite us to events, let us know. We are open to be speakers at your event. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for having me. See you in some weeks.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye.